As usual, my friends, there will be no plot spoilers. For the first couple of minutes, I'll let you know when I'm going to do a deep dive with those plot spoilers.
All the gin joints and...
Too busy living.
I watched sea beams.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Welly, 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 where do I even start on this train wreck? Laughable train wreck. Is that possible? Sounds like an oxymoron. All right, it's a train wreck where nobody gets hurt. There's just a bunch of pie in your face. This starts out with such promise. The Fall. It's a BBC Irish three-series drama on a serial killer being chased by the Belfast Police Department. And it starts out, the first couple episodes, 2 or 3 episodes, are actually pretty riveting, kind of strange, but pretty riveting. And I'll get to the strange part here in a second. But then it just slides into somnambulance, soporific, sleepiness. They really don't know where they're going with this. It's like a roller coaster that sort of flattens out and starts going through an endless repeat of gray caves and psychedelic caves. It's a mess. The strangeness and mess of it are two primary things: the serial killer and the detective, the primary detective chasing the serial killer. That detective is played by Gillian Anderson. I think it's Gillian Anderson. She was on X-Files. She's the DSU, the detective superintendent, brought over from the Metropolitan Police Department in London. And then the serial killer is played by Jamie Dornan. And the acting on this, Jamie Dornan does a pretty good job. Gillian Anderson is cardboard, spacey cardboard. You just don't, she is so incompetent as a detective, a superintendent, that you're yelling at I was yelling at the TV set several times. So one time it's like, you got a recording of this guy's voice. This is what you're supposed to do. Bop, bop, bop. She didn't do it. You see the guy do something. She doesn't do it. I mean, it's just bizarre. It's like she doesn't really want to catch the guy.
To break into their home. What could be more intimate than squeezing the life from another human being?
And this brings in an aspect of this that is really a bit strange, and I'm not sure it was intended. Maybe not. But you get the sense from her, from all of her actions and everything, that she's actually attracted to this guy, that she has a deviant aspect to her personality, and she's attracted. If they wanted to go there with that, that might be interesting, but they don't flesh it out. So it's just sort of implied. And that's just bizarre. And it would explain why she doesn't catch this guy when she should have caught him. Like by episode 5. This is 17 episodes. Yeah. So you got 12, 13, 14 episodes of this. It's malingering. And the serial killer is strange. The person, get this, the person that you like the most in this TV series no, it's not her. It's not the detective. It's not the people working around her, half of them whom are incompetent. It's not her boss, the assistant chief constable, who's an alcoholic and strange and weird and gets in her way. This is bizarre. No, it's none of those people. No. The person you like the most is the serial killer. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's thoughtful with his children, cares about them for the most part, except when he goes out to kill people and leaves them in the house, at night with a very strange babysitter that I'll get into when I do the plot spoilers. But he's a bereavement counselor, I believe, it's something like that. And he's very good with the people he's counseling, which I guess is just women. That's all you see in this. Of course, he's a serial killer of women. So that's bizarre. But he's very good at that. He's very good with people. But he kills women of a certain type. It's just bizarre. I mean, nothing really about this series makes any sense at all. you've got the main detective, the superintendent, played by Gillian Anderson, who is evidently, as far as you can tell, some sort of pseudo like feminist fantasy that's a fantasy of a man. It was because this was written by a dude, what was his name? Cuddles or something like that. Alan Cubitt. That's it. Alan Cubitt wrote this. So he's like a male feminist. Those are the worst. As if feminism is even a legitimate thing anymore after women got their rights in America anyway, and around the world, the Western world, they got all their rights in the early 20th century. So feminism is dead and it doesn't know it's dead. That said, that's what this is. She's sort of like this pastiche of male testosterone. She speaks in this sort of almost sexually suggestive whisper and is monotone both in vocal and facial expression. She's weird. And the camera just lingers on her all the time, on her face. Maybe her right eyebrow goes up. That's the only thing that moves. And it's just, you don't know why. And she swims all the time. You don't know why. But there's shot after scene where she's just swimming. That's it. I mean, and the movies, the series is like this. Over and over, you just get these tangential characters that really have little to do with the plot. And they just won't catch this guy. And when they finally do, it gets even worse, believe it or not. Because the final season of this, the final series as they call it in Britain, is 6 episodes, and it's just interminable going into the psychoanalysis and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope I didn't give anything away there. I don't, if you've seen the trailers on this or whatever, I mean, obviously, he's going to get caught. It's just like, how is he going to get caught? I'm not going to get into that. But if you want, the problem with watching the first, say, 2 or 3 episodes that are actually pretty decent is you're going to really want to know how it ends. How does he get caught? How did they do it? And so you're going to be stuck. This is what happened to me. I got stuck. I'm like, all right, this is going in some spacey directions. I do not like anybody in this show except for the serial killer, and I'm not supposed to like him, so F you on that, And so, yeah, you're going to want to know. So either fast forward or find out, read about it or whatever. I just suggest not even watching it. Go watch Killing Eve, which is amazing, or, something like that, Broadchurch or something like that. Watch something. I'm a huge fan of British crime dramas, procedurals like this one is. They do it better than the Americans. And, but this one's horrible. This is wretched. So that's my general opinion of it. So I'll jump into a little bit of a deep dive on this. I don't do a deep dive usually too much on things I don't like, but I'll do it a little bit on this and just talk about the plot holes. This thing's got more plot holes than a downtown Atlanta, Georgia street has potholes. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to jump into things on this plot holes and other things that just simply wouldn't happen in real life. With detectives or with people. For instance, the first lady who gets killed, the one where he spread out the panties. He broke in, spread out all the panties and everything else. And, she's not locking everything. She's not locking all of her doors. And she's not, super paranoid. She's not going someplace else to stay until they find the person who came in and did this. Because that shows a methodology. That's not somebody just breaking in and getting stuff. It's somebody breaking in and showing a determination to do more. And then along those lines, you've got the DSU, Gillian Anderson's character, Stella Gibson. Yeah, Stella Gibson, guitars, Stella Gibson. So you got her not issuing orders to her staff to go through the history the last 10 years and find if there's been those kinds of break-ins. And then you got the cops showing up concerning that same thing, the lady and the guy. you know, and they show up and they don't see if all the doors and windows are secure. Why not try to open them? You know, see if somebody's broken in. You know, they think she's probably supposed to be at home. Why not call? Why not keep calling? I mean, if you feel as strongly as they seem to feel about this, why not take it further? And then, you know, then he goes in, and the woman goes in, he stays out to console, but the woman goes in. This is where this feminism stuff goes. He's much bigger. It's much safer for him to go in and check to see if the killer's still in there. I mean, it's just bizarre. And then, of course, you've got Gibson herself, the things that she does and doesn't do. You know, she doesn't pour back over all the people who have come in to be interviewed. Especially after she takes the private phone call from the murderer, you know, played by James Norton. His name is Peter, and then Paul Spector. So, first of all, she allows him to call her on her personal phone. She walks out into the hallway. Who does that? No detective does that. You put him on speaker. You let everybody hear him on speaker on the private phone in the hallway. You have witnesses. You record it, which they were capable of doing. You record it. You get his voice. And you compare that voice to everybody who came in and did interviews. The suspects, potential suspects. Bam, you got him. He came in from the botanical garden. You got him. And that whole thing where the voice doesn't match up, we didn't have enough hallmarks to say for sure that it's his voice. It's his voice. You can tell. It's his voice. That's just BS. It's crazy. And then him driving up on them on that scene where they're at, where they think Rose is, and she just stares at him, instead of going crazy, going, there he is, everybody let's go, let's chase him, get the helicopter after him. What in the fuck? I mean, at that point in the show, I'm like, what's going on here? What's going on? Is she sexually obsessed with him? Seriously. Yeah, she gets the license plate, but it's not enough. No detective in his or her right mind would have acted that way. And then on top of that, when Paul Spector, the serial killer, and her boyfriend, you think, who's shackled to him, handcuffed to him, they both get shot. She runs up on the scene and she cuddles. She doesn't yell as she's running up on the scene, get another ambulance here, because one ambulance is going to be taking Rose away, which is the right thing. But she doesn't yell like any good detective would to get one or two more ambulances on the way there. So she goes over and cuddles him and says, it's going to be all right, or something like that. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Cuddles his head while her boyfriend, shot next to the serial killer, is lying there. What the hell was that? Why does she care about this guy? So that's bizarre. That, whether they meant it or not, that showed some sort of deviant behavior, deviant attraction on her part. And the only way that this can be analyzed, in my perspective, is by putting it into the perspective of the way she treated everybody else in her life. She didn't care about anybody. She showed no passion for anybody. She used men. I mean, she's the stereotype guy who uses women and browbeats them. She browbeats every guy around her. She uses every guy around her. She doesn't care about anybody, including the chief constable, and fooling around on him when he was married. And what she does to the new cop that she meets, that big guy, and walks up to him unprofessionally with other people around and says she's at the Hilton Hotel. Her room number is 203. And he stares at her. He can't believe that she just said this. of course, you're watching, you can't either. And in a way, you kind of go like, well, she's got some chutzpah, but she's so unprofessional. Then she gets called on being unprofessional by the assistant chief constable, and she just shrugs it off and comes back at him, berates him. I mean, this is a cunt. This is a bitch. This is somebody who does not care about other human beings. She's almost sociopathic, which is what you get from her facial expressions and the way she treats everybody. So yeah, so she walks up, she runs up, cradles the serial killer. So I mean, with all of this perspective on how she treats everybody else, she's better with the women around her. She does listen to them somewhat and respect them somewhat. But you get the sense that she's dominant of everybody, with everybody around her, and she is seeking to be dominated by a serial killer. Like he's the one guy who can treat her the way that she feels like she should be treated, which is with utter contempt and perhaps murderous intentions, or at least sexually aggressive intentions. Somebody who can control her. I mean, that's the feeling that you get from this. And that turns this into some sort of psychological thriller, which would be fine if they flesh that out, but they don't flesh it out. Thereby leading to a really unsatisfying ending on this in the psych center, which has so many problems just in itself, him walking around free and easy. But when she finds out he's dead and she walks in and she's just staring at him on the floor, she doesn't do what a normal detective would do and go, good, you son of a bitch, you finally got what you deserved. Maybe you got too good because you got to kill yourself. Because that's what I'm wanting to hear. This motherfucker terrorized everybody. Well, except for his kids and, maybe his wife and the people who needed bereavement counseling because he was such a good guy, right? I mean, this is bizarre, folks. This is bizarre. And talking about walking around free. He's in the hospital. This guy's got no guards on him. Not only does he have no guards on him, but the nurse in charge of him at night looks like his typical victim and starts sympathizing with him. I mean, didn't you not see that coming? As soon as I saw her, I'm like, oh, here it comes. And sure enough, talk about a cliche. I mean, come on. No guards, and she's there talking freely with him, and she is his type, his murdering type. And then the whole sort of deus ex machina of he's lost his memory, but he's only lost it for the last 6 years. I've never even heard of that before. Maybe that happens, but it's just some complete BS. And they use it also, deus ex machina, is the court says he has to go in for psych treatment. Why? He's just lost it. He's just forgotten the last 6 years. As they made clear, it will have no bearing on his case. So why the psych treatments? It's just a concoction for them to have a third series on this, is what it is. To delve into psychology. And frankly, with that psychoanalyst or whatever it was at the clinic, probing him and being so self-satisfied about what he was doing and saying that he probably could help him. I mean, frankly, when the serial killer, Paul, is beating him to a pulp, I'm not feeling bad. It's like he deserved it. You let this murdering bastard walk around freely without being shackled, without two guards around him all the time, and you pretend that you think you can possibly know him and fix him, or not fix him but help him? Really? And he's not even in there for that. Nobody's saying he's insane, which would be the only reason he could be in there. Which, of course, brings you to all the shuffling around that they did concerning, do they have enough evidence? So let's make this airtight. You got everything. You got DNA. You got fingerprints. You got Rose. You've got the lady who wasn't killed. Who wasn't able to kill. Who said it's him. She disappears from this whole thing. Why? I don't know. So you've got so much evidence on him. It's conclusive. And that's not even including his confession, long confession, which, by the way, just didn't add up. Really? Why is he confessing? Because it's Stella? Is he attracted to Stella? We don't know. She's not his type. She hasn't shown any great detective skills. So you have no idea why Stella, he's sort of obsessed with her. Why? Because she's the one in charge of the whole investigation? If it were a dude, would he still be? Is there some attraction? He doesn't show it. I mean, this whole thing is just a blistering mess. And I'm not even going over all of the plot holes on this and the things that bend the imagination, bend credulity. I mean, it's just over and over. It's a bad TV series. It's got a decent idea, behind the whole BTK thing in America. That dude. I mean, I think it was based on that. The serial killer and his normalcy, But this morphs into more than that, because that could be interesting. And I'm a fanatic for serial killer, these types of procedurals. I love them. But this one was done so badly. But this one does morph into some sort of pseudo feminist trope, and it doesn't work. She is not a sympathetic character. I mean, when she's having that sort of lesbian moment or whatever with Archie Panjabi's character, Professor Reed Smith. And by the way, Archie Panjabi, God, I love that woman. Oh my God, I want to marry Archie Panjabi. But she's having that moment. She's so icy. I mean, I flinched, but the professor wasn't flinching. She acted like she was interested. I don't know how anybody could be interested in Stella. Seriously, she's an ice queen, and remote and spacey and weird. I really don't know what they were trying to do with this. It's just really badly done. It's turgid, and it just meanders. You don't really, you like his wife, Paul's wife, and then you don't like her, and then she tries to kill the kids. I mean, come on. It's just like, and then it's the guys in the police system who want to go after her for lying and protecting Paul at the beginning. And Stella evidently shows her sensitivity and she knows better. She knows women better. And she's got some sort of heart in her. She's going to protect her. That you just don't buy it. You really don't buy it. And you don't also buy the badness of the men in this. I mean, all the men in this, except for the serial killer, are wretched human beings. Except for her boyfriend, who seems to be nice, but it turns out he's a cuckold or a wimp, because he actually does call her on when she cradled the serial killer instead of him when they were both shot. But then he backs off when she gives him that bullshit explanation. She didn't want him to get off that easily, the serial killer to get off that easily. Come on, bullshit. Call bullshit on that, man. He doesn't call it. So there are no good men in this. So I don't know if the writer and director, if that was their intent, was to show men bad, women good, women strong, men weak, women not alcoholics, men alcoholics. And if they're a serial killer, well, we should have some sympathy for them because they were abused as children. And they can be good guys. See how good he is at bereavement counseling and with his kids and even his wife and even the screwed up teenage girl. I won't even get into her and that whole mess. It's just, wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm not, I think I could say 100 other things about this, but that's, and y'all get on here and comment. Let me know. I mean, this thing is rated 81 out of 100 on IMDb. Seriously. And I think it's like 95% on Rotten Tomatoes for the first season. 61%, thankfully, for the last season, the last series. But still, that's way too high. Anyway, okay. All right. I'm rating this only because the first 3 episodes are good. I'm rating this 2 popcorns out of 10. And if the acting by Gillian Anderson were better and her character were better, well, and the writing, well, everything. So I would give this maybe 5 or 6, but no, I can't. Okay, so anyway, y'all let me know what you think. I'll catch you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye now.